Welcome to the Nursing Edge Unscripted Surface podcast with Dr. Michelle Moulton and Dr. Rachel Onello. On our last episode titled Big Wisdom, Small Packages, we were talking with Dr. Susan Bindon about all the good things related to mentorship and teaching and pearls of wisdom in our role as faculty educators. There was a lot to talk about, and there's still more to talk about. So this episode is a continuation of that conversation where we dive into uncovering more of Dr. Susan Bindon's wisdom to share with all of us. So without further ado, let's continue the conversation. I think we've talked in broad terms, but also in a way that relates to face-to-face teaching in a way. I'm curious to get a little more granular and specific with online teaching, because I think there's some nuances and differences in how we can take pulse checks and a temperature of our online learning environment and humanize it at the same time, when, especially if we're in asynchronous modalities. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Susan, on how we might be able to do that as educators.
Yeah, we've all experienced that this past year for sure. It's same principles, maybe a little more work, more intentionality, because you have to go get the feedback. It's not coming to you. But I think you can still listen online. I think you can still watch. And I try to make sure the students feel seen. And almost to the point where I say, I see you. Even in my responses, I say, I can see you, or it sounds like I hear you, I see you. But being present, and I talk a lot about this community of inquiry when you're talking about online teaching, and the faculty presence creates the learning environment. You have to do that just like you do in the classroom. You have to be cognitively present, you have to be instructionally present, and you have to be socially present. And all three of those together create that learning experience for the students. And how do you do that? Short weekly announcements, video announcements. And I like to say, good morning, it's Wednesday morning, the 24th. So they know that this wasn't 3 years ago. And mention something that's current, check in, say, I hope you're doing well. Give them a summary of last week, a preview of this week, just to let them know you're really with them. Also, I like to watch, let's just say it's an asynchronous class. Even then, you can see students, who's in early, who likes to think out loud, who's the last one in every week, which two students go back and forth with each other and are out, check out, which students really ponder. You can see that. And I like to mention that. I say, Michelle, I can see you thinking about this. Rachel, I noticed that you built upon Casey's comment. So I just thread it. Even if it's asynchronous, I want them to come back, see their little comment, and feel like I was really talking to them. And also extending that conversation, because if you answer their questions online, if a student asks a question and you answer it, the conversation's over, right? It's not like a classroom where you can see somebody else go like this. So kind of really intentionally extending the conversation or cross-pollinating so students start to talk to each other, because that's an important part. And also helping them reflect by way of your questions. Michelle, if you were to redo this, how would you think about it differently? Rachel, if you had gotten a different response, what other ideas do you have? So again, just very intentionally planting seeds, watering seeds, putting sunshine on seeds, making sure they're all growing. But I do think it's possible on online, and synchronously, of course, at least you have a little bit of feedback if cameras and mics are on. So those are some beginning ideas, at least.
There's so much good stuff there I could double click on. One thing that really struck me was your comment about when you do videos, saying the date or putting something context specific that's timed, because in working with a lot of different faculty, I think there's a tendency to try to make it general and not put time specific things so that videos can be reused. But it goes back to your comment of you can never step in the same river twice.
That's right.
Or in the same water twice in the same river. So it speaks to, we really need to be rethinking about whether we can rinse and repeat these videos, because what the next cohort needs in the exact same course may not be the same presence in the video that we did for the previous course. So I really appreciated that perspective.
And that little extra work will let you to reuse some of the bigger chunks, but those little smaller bits that you said, reflecting real time and real presence, leaving those breadcrumbs, letting them know you were there, I think is really important. And anticipating the peaks and troughs of the weeks, that. And sometimes I put in, I've had a lot of questions about whether I have or not. I know what they're thinking because I can anticipate the peaks and troughs. And so address those questions. And then I can just see some students saying, I was wondering that. So anticipate, put some FAQs out, even that kind of thing is helpful and timely. Timing is important too. So
I also am thinking that can really, by anticipating the peaks and troughs and being proactive and reaching out to the students and sharing your thinking as a teacher and what you're seeing as trends can really actually, even though it seems like a little work up front and a little effort, a little time, it could probably save teachers. It's very efficient, saving you from responding to questions. And I think when I've done some little tweaks like that too, I've noticed that I don't hear as much from the students. And sometimes you wonder, is this a good thing? Where are they okay? Are they on vacation? Are they on spring break? But it's not spring break yet. Or sometimes I really do believe it's that they have a better feeling, understanding. They know where they are. If I send a weekly email, they know exactly. And I thought of you, Rachel, this kind of preview, here's where we were, here's where we're going. I know Rachel's a real sucker for a cliffhanger. She likes to dabble with a little element of surprise. So I think these things can really help us. Again, little teaching techniques or nuanced teaching skills that can help in a really big way for students.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan, Michelle and I are simulation educators at heart. So you can imagine you probably can't get through a conversation with us without some element of sim. So we would like to invite you to participate in a little simulation scenario with us, if that's okay. Does that sound good?
I'm here, I'm ready.
All right, so rather than a hallway conversation, which Michelle and I always love, I would like you to imagine that you are sitting with a new colleague, perhaps at the lunch break post-COVID times, at maybe the first day back for the semester or the all faculty meeting, and you have an opportunity to share with this new faculty member who may feel a little bit of trepidation to their new role. What are three things you would like to tell your new colleague?
Wow. I look forward to that, to being back together again. That'll be fun. Oh boy, wonder how much time I have to sit with the new person. But the first, these transitions to practice, that's what it is. Depending on where he or she came from, it's a transition to practice. So I guess I would start with an assessment question. What are you expecting? And then part two is, what are you experiencing? So very quickly, I could kind of assess that gap or that expectation reality gap, if you will, and give me a feel. What I would share is, I'm always about goals, right? And depending on the size of the gap, I often offer the notion of, it doesn't always go over well, but pace yourself. Opportunities are exciting. Everything is exciting, but there's a break-even point when you start something. And I share this with new grads sometimes. At first, you're consuming resources, right? As you're learning, you consume other people's time and goodwill and knowledge and wisdom and space and money and all of that time. And then there's a break-even point where you start to contribute, which is a wonderful feeling. And just knowing that you can't really, there's a head down period as you're transitioning, even if you're experienced. And experiencing that expert to novice is heart-rending sometimes. It's because you come in with a certain things in your backpack and you're feeling pretty good, but then hitting that novice wall is hard. So understanding that there's a period of consumption, and then that period of contribution will come, and trust me, it will come. And then the footing feels a little bit better. So I would offer that idea. Number two, I'd say find a mentor. Number three, I'd say find another mentor. those are some ideas. Also that instruction is what, 10 or 15% of what we do, 20 maybe. The other 80% is advising and planning and committeeing and service, that kind of thing. So helping them, if they didn't understand that faculty role, helping them get that perspective would be helpful, I think. And just being gracious with themselves, and knowing when to ask for help. Yeah, if it was a very novice person, I think that would be enough for one lunch, I think.
Susan, one thing you've said to me, again, more than once, I've been fortunate, is sometimes you'll sit down with me when I think you've noticed that I'm done with the consuming role and I want to move on to the contributing and giving part of the role. And I think you can sense that coming up in me, and what you've done for me is you do a little timeout. Mm-hmm. Let's take a minute and look back. So, because I'm always looking ahead. So you have said, let's take a minute, look back and see where you've come. Mm-hmm. Celebrate that and sit with that and acknowledge that and breathe with that. And that has helped me have that little transitionary head down period where I'm like, whoa, okay. So I don't have to keep going. I don't have to run 100 miles an hour, barefoot. I can just stop and put my head down and sit with this for a minute. And I've always appreciated your assistance with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we don't sometimes recognize that what we do is special until you have a chance to think about it. And then it also helps you put your sights in the right direction for what's next. Because you don't want to do the shotgun, you want to do more of an arrow. Once you define what your target is, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I've also found the few times, because I've not been much of a head down person, I've always been running forward. But the few times that I have put my head down and really sought to kind of gain some clarity about where I am going next, that's when I find the most opportunities actually come forward that are the best fit.
Right.
Best alignment.
Right.
Those aha moments have been a real time of celebration for me, where I'm like, oh, this is where I was supposed to go. This is what I was supposed to be doing, and not that shotgun approach. So
that's
I think
great.
that helps to create those moments for a new person.
That's great. And recognizing that cycle happens over and over and over again is helpful. We're never fully formed, right?
Rachel, I'm thinking it might be a good time for our rapid fire questions. What are you thinking?
I think it's great, and I can't wait to hear Susan's answers.
I should maybe check it with Susan. Susan, I think it's time for our rapid fire questions.
Is it like chocolate versus vanilla or that kind of thing, or is it?
Well, yeah. that wouldn't be. Rachel and I like to go a little bit deeper than that, as you know. So yeah, I think it'll be fun though. It's fun. So, are you ready?
I trust you.
Here's the challenge. It's rapid fire. So
okay.
10 seconds or less, we want to hear what comes to the top of your mind.
Got it.
Great. All right, Susan, if you were to write a memoir, what would you title the book?
10 seconds or less. Once upon a time, I was asked that, and my answer at that time was Farm Girl in the Big City, because I am a farm girl in the big city. But better, I think I'd call it Sturdy, and there's a story there. I come from a big family, and there are 5 of us, and my mom used to introduce us to people all the time, and she would say, here's my smart one, here's my pretty one, here's my hardworking one, here's my baby, and here's Susie. Susie's my sturdy girl. And when you're 5 or 8 or 12, you're like, Mom, that's horrifying. But I've come to cherish that. I've come to embrace that. So I think I'd call it, Sturdy.
I love that very much.
It's a true story. And I still get to tease my mom about it. So that's the best part. And her answer to everything as well. So there you go.
So good. So good. Okay. What is on the top of your reading list right now for fun? I know we read a lot as nurse educators, but for fun.
I just last night finished Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. If you liked A Man Called Ove, it's along those lines, and it was delightful. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Rachel and I, we very selfishly add these questions so we can add to our, it's really about our, adding to our reading list. So what is your favorite quote?
Oh, I think I love when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I think that is perfect because it's so true. And when the student is ready, whoever the student is, the teacher will appear. And that could be a friend, a parent, a partner, a pet. It could be a teacher. It could be a stranger. But I love that idea of just being open. When you're open and ready, the teacher will appear. So I'll leave that there.
So good. Okay. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
I can't have a dinner party of 8. I have to have one person.
Well, I did. When Rachel and I, we asked each other these questions, I ended up having a party.
Yeah. Oh, so many. Eleanor Roosevelt, my grandmothers, both of them. So I have a country grandmother and a city grandma. That would be wonderful. Winston Churchill, Oprah, maybe, although she's pretty tough. Laura Ingalls Wilder, that would be part of my party off the top of my head.
I would totally be there, and I would show up in my calico dress.
And of course, my kids. So there's my party.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I hope I get to come too, because I definitely would be. I'm a huge Laura Ingalls Wilder fan.
What a group.
Oh, yeah. I don't know who I'd enjoy more. All right, well, that's it for our rapid fire questions. And we so very much appreciate your joining us, sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience. We get to benefit, I think, immensely from hearing your stories and how you see the world of teaching. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It was a treat. It was great fun. I appreciate you both, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Susan. And so we hope to see everyone next time on our next episode of Nursing Edge Unscripted Surface. Until then, be well.